Imagine you wake up 100,000 years ago, dust on your lips, sun low and sharp. You are dying of thirst. There is a river down the slope. It glitters like promise and threat all at once. You know nothing about bacteria. You know nothing about parasites. You do know this: drink and you might live, drink and you might not. The water problem. Water is everywhere and nowhere. Rivers run, puddles sit, rain drips into hollows. Some water nourishes, some water kills. Dead animals float, stagnant pools stew. Microscopic enemies lurk where you cannot see. You cannot smell a bacterial strike. You cannot taste protozoa before it is too late. Survival here is a game of choices made blind. Every decision is high stakes. You learn the rules the hard way. Survival was about choosing wisely. You become an expert observer because you must. Flowing water looks different. It sounds different. You notice which springs never smell bad. You notice where birds and antelope drink. You follow tracks and game trails to water. Animals teach you by example. If the ibex drinks here and thrives, maybe so can you. You learn seasons. Monsoon pools refill. Dry season wells concentrate risk. You learn to avoid the obvious traps. Green algae on the surface, rotting smell, scum, you walk away. You collect rain where you can. You scrape condensation from leaves. You harvest water from succulent plants. You pry open bamboo, twist open roots, suck the cool, clear inside. You dig where the ground stays damp, root cellars of memory. You store water in hollow gourds and animal stomachs. Knowledge passes like a torch from elder to child. Listen, and someone will tell you which springs save their cousin. Those oral maps are life. They are early sanitation, practical, brutal, effective. Fire changed everything. Then you master fire, not just for warmth, not just for meat. Fire becomes your purifier. Heat kills organisms you cannot see. Boiling rewrites the odds. But it's not a universal panacea. Fuel is limited, tinder scarce in dry seasons. Containers are precious. Not every tribe has pottery yet. Sometimes you have only a skin, a gourd, a hollow log. You improvise. Hot stones. You heat rock and drop it into water. Smoke screens. You use steam to sterilize shallow bowls. Roasting meat over a flame can render hidden water harmless inside food. You still choose simpler options when they work. Boiling is a tool in a larger toolkit. You become strategic. When fuel is plenty, you boil and scald. When it is not, you find safer springs. Sometimes you treat only enough for the sick or the children. Sometimes you ration purified water like gold. The bigger story. Survival is not purity. You do not drink sterile water every day. You drink what you must and you survive what you can. Natural selection is cruel and relentless. Some people die from waterborne disease. Some survive and pass their learned cautions on. Over generations, the ones with better instincts, better knowledge, and better tools leave more descendants. The landscape shapes your behavior. The landscape shapes your culture. Tribes near plentiful springs develop different rituals than desert bands. Water taboos emerge. Certain sources become sacred. Certain pools are off limits. Sometimes it is superstition. Sometimes it is practical wisdom disguised as ritual. Either way, it keeps people alive. You invent small technologies. You learn to strain with grass and woven fibers. You line storage pits with clay. You carve channels to divert clean flow. You construct terraces so runoff moves slower and sediment settle. You create seasonal migration patterns to follow fresh water and avoid poisoned wells. These are engineering decisions before engineering existed. They are urgent, daily improvisations. The role of sickness and immunity. Not every exposure equals death. Your body fights. Children who survive early infections may develop resistance. Populations living around the same sources build partial immunities over time. That sounds grim, and it is. Every community pays a toll, but those tolls shape resilience. And sometimes the sick bring new knowledge. They reveal which source made them ill. They teach the rest to avoid it. The slow march towards safer water is also a march in genes. Cultural memory and biological memory work together. A few key survival tricks. You use animals as guides. You follow dung and tracks to springs. You watch where vultures circle, often a carcass, but sometimes a waterhole. You prefer flow to stillness. Even tiny stream movement reduces bacterial load. You harvest rain. You collect dew at dawn with leaves and skins. You design simple filters. Gravel, sand, charcoal. Each layer removes different hazards. Charcoal absorbs bad taste and some toxins. Sand filters out larger particles and many parasites. You boil when you can. You roast or steam when direct boiling is impossible. You avoid obvious pollutants. You never drink downstream from a dead animal. You recognize algae blooms and avoid them. You know which seasons are deadly. Story of a single decision. Imagine you approach a slow pool. The air is heavy with flies. A child is thirsty. You can walk another hour to a flowing stream. Do you risk the slow pool or carry the child across the ridge? That is human survival in a sentence. Your choice writes history. Make the right choice and you return to the fire, to stories, to the next day. Make the wrong choice and you learn for those who come after. The psychological edge. Fear sharpens you. Knowledge calms you. You teach caution with stories, not with lectures. Ghost tales keep children from dangerous water. Songs remember the safe spring. Rituals enforce boundaries. Culture becomes a survival engine. Why this matters now? You live in a world of pipes and pills. It is easy to forget how vulnerable humans were, and still can be. The ancient tactics are simple, low-tech, and effective. They remind you that survival is observation, adaptation, and community. You owe your modern tap to millennia of trial and error. Closing scene. So you stand at the river. You cup your hands and taste the cold flow. You listen to its music. You choose. You follow the path that elders taught. You boil when you can. You avoid when you must. You pass the knowledge on. Night falls, the fire flickers. A child drinks from a gourd you treated with hot stones. They sleep safe, for now. The world is harsh, but your choices matter. They always have. End with one thing locked in your mind.
Ancient humans did not have clean water the way you do. They had strategy, stubbornness, and a hard-won web of knowledge. It kept them alive long enough to build the next invention. And that is how you, here in your modern kitchen, are still breathing, because someone 100,000 years ago learned to read the land and the water.